Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Randy Rafi. I'm the Director of Sales with Silac Software. I'm here today to present on override management using MP Studio. This session is currently being recorded, and a link to that recording will be made available sometime later today or sometime tomorrow with a follow-up email. We'll probably include in that an offer for a one-on-one demo if you want to go into any of the things I show you today, if you want to go into them a little deeper. And we'll also offer an evaluation of MP Studio so you can try it out firsthand for yourself. I have a few slides to share with you today, and we'll get through those as quickly as we can and move right into the application demo. Silac Software has been around now for 13 years, and we're very proud of that fact. We're one of the original founding members of the System Center Alliance. And over the past 13 plus years, our solutions have grown from simple reporting on MOM 2000 to Health Report to MP Studio for working with management packs to full-blown authoring tools and very powerful tools. We've also more recently added a compliance reporting and monitoring product that's called the HITRUST Pack. The HITRUST Pack was developed in partnership with Microsoft and HITRUST. HITRUST is a group in the United States that has defined security compliance guidelines. And so in partnership with them and Microsoft, we've built this. It's a management pack and a configuration pack that will help you check compliance. So, various security controls and report on those. And we also support remediation. So if you need more information on that, let me know. MP Author free. I'm hoping everyone on the call today, including customers and people who are new to Silac, hoping you've heard of MP Author, but it's a free tool. I'll tell you a little bit about it. MP Author Professional is a new product we released within the last month. MP Author Professional supports all the things in MP Author plus advanced authoring capabilities. Okay, so it does things that you can't do in the free product, things like roll-up monitors, dependency and aggregate, new class, we support new process, and we also support in the advanced authoring things like SNMP support. So you can now author various types of SNMP management packs that includes, of course, a target, both probe and trap-based monitors, and probe and trap-based rules as well. So very cool. MP Studio is a product we'll talk about today. I'm going to go into that in detail in the next slide. CP Studio is a baseline authoring tool. So if you're using Configuration Manager and you need to create your own baseline, CP Studio nails that. It's basically browse out to the configuration item like a registry item or WMI setting or file attribute, and you just capture that setting. It becomes part of your baseline. Really easy to use. So last but not least, I should tell you that our services department is growing in leaps and bounds. We're providing help developing things for System Center, from baselines and management packs to add-on features and extending System Center. So we're also providing consulting services, helping our customers with OMS. And we're also a Power BI partner with Microsoft, and we're providing services doing Power BI reporting as well as supporting our clients' needs when it comes to Azure. Silac has over 6,000 users of our software, and that's a worldwide statistic we're very proud of. You can see a handful of the clients here, but some really large organizations across all industries. Let me tell you a little bit about MP Studio. It does management pack analysis, makes it very easy to understand the configuration of a management pack. Okay, so that black box, even in the Ops console, it can be a little tricky to get a look at the big picture and understand the configuration of a management pack. So in MP Studio, you've got clear, concise documentation. You can export to Excel, you can create a workbook to document the entire management pack, and recently we've added support for automation. So you can publish reports to a folder, and you can also set up email subscription and have reports distributed to all stakeholders. So reports include for a management pack, for audit history of any management pack, and you can also publish or automate the backup report as well. Now, MP Studio is also really good at override management. That's what we're going to focus on today's session. I've got a lot of stuff I want to share with you. So we'll hold till the very end for questions. There is an option to submit questions in the GoToWebinar application. I will review those in case you post any questions at the end of the session. So after we stop the recording. So in override management, today I'm going to cover things like documentation of overrides. We'll create individual overrides. We'll do bulk override management. Then we'll look at the auditing of those. Then I'm going to cover a topic, misplaced overrides. And this happens to everybody. Overrides get stored in the wrong place. Sometimes it's done with intention, just because you don't know somebody else has already created an override management pack. So you create your own, and next thing you know, you've got two. And somebody else has accidentally saved an override in the default management pack. So this problem happens all the time. You're not the first person to do it, and you won't be the last. So we're going to show you how to, number one, detect that problem, a few different ways to detect that problem and know exactly where the overrides are, where the misplaced overrides are, and then I'm going to show you a new feature in MP Studio to help you clean that up. So in MP Studio, you now can use a copy or move. So you can literally move an override from one MP to any other MP, whether it's offline, in other words, it's a file-based MP in the store, or you could do it in production if you wanted to or if you needed to. So okay, advanced authoring, all of that is in MP Studio. I'm not here today to talk about that, but if you are creating your own management packs and sealing them, you're going to need overrides, chances are, okay? So then there's version control. Now, an override management pack gets created. It will not stay the same forever. Things change. I mean, the OS changes and the application changes. You've got upgrades to the OS, service packs, you know, updates, new versions, hardware changes, user behavior changes, all kinds of things impact the need to change your override. So that threshold at 25 used to be good, but you know, now you put in this huge mega disk and all of a sudden 25% free space is really way too big a setting. So point is, overrides change, and as they change, you should, you know, have backups automatically added to the store database, and then you've got a history. As you add those copies to the store database, MP Studio seamlessly creates the audit trail, capturing who made the change, when the change was made, and what the change was. So we'll get a look at that. I'm also going to show you the workflow report. What the workflow report is it shows you what's running on your server, what discoveries, rules, monitors, and associated overrides. So yes, we now have added the overrides right in that report. My personal name for this report is the Silver Bullet Report, because that's what everybody wants. They want to know not just what's running out there, but what overrides exist. Okay, last but not least, on MP Studio, actually there's two, you know, a couple more major components, but if you deploy a management pack that you've never tested or haven't had installed before, you know, I'll call it blindly deploy it and cross your fingers and toes and hope for the best. And let's face it, we probably all have done that too, and we've had to. It's really hard to have a lab that really simulates your production environment. Okay, so I apologize if you're experiencing sound issues. Just doing a double check. It seems like my volume is good. I will try to speak up a little bit, but I've only got one person indicating sound issues. So that one person, perhaps, you know, reconnect and perhaps you'll get better sound quality. So, okay, let's continue on. Just back to this pre-deployment thing. MP Studio has a test feature. So you run a baseline test. Let's say you've got a sealed management pack, it's brand new. You don't even have to install it into your management group. You can test it in MP Studio find out which are the noisy rules and monitors. And here's a number for you. 20% of the elements are going to create 80% of your alerts. So you run this test in MP Studio, find out which are the noisy rules and monitors, and create your overrides to better manage those. By now you've probably noticed the special offer down at the bottom. This is introductory pricing available until August 31st. By introductory, because we released MP Author Professional, we felt, okay, let's do something good for our MP Studio prospects as well. So that's a really good price. If you buy before the end of August, you'll also get your first year annual maintenance at no charge. Okay, let's go into the workflow diagram. This is a life cycle diagram for MP Studio, and what this does, okay, it sounds better, that's good, I'm glad, Louis. Okay, so I'm just going to grab a pointer here, and this life cycle diagram, maybe you're developing an override management pack or you're authoring a new management pack, but the first thing you really need to do is understand the configuration. Let's say somebody's created that and you are the one who's going to deploy it. It'd be good to take a look at it first and use MP Studio documentation to understand how that MP is configured. Or maybe you are the owner of that MP and you create this documentation to share with the stakeholders, including your manager. So that's really one of the key challenges. People purchase MP Studio just so they can use this rich and powerful documentation capabilities, and we'll look at some of that here today. So the next step in the process is being able to validate that MP that you're working with, whether it's an override MP or a new sealed MP you want to deploy. Run a test. Okay, that's the feature in MP Studio, and then take a look at the scorecard. In MP Studio, we have a report called the resultant set of alerts. If you run a test for 1 hour, now you know the alerts per hour for that MP. And it'll also pinpoint which monitors are creating most of the alerts. So you ask yourself the question, does that pass the test? Does it meet our service level agreements? If not, now you need to do some override management. Okay, so my recommendation is do a baseline test before your override work. Okay, now you start tweaking overrides and you run a second test, and that process of tuning and testing continues until you have that override management pack to the point where you believe these are a manageable number of alerts. Okay, so now you're ready to put that out into production. As you make changes to that management pack, however, best practice is to put a copy in the MP Studio store database. So we call it the store. It's a SQL database. We support local or remote SQL database. You can use SQL Express, and I've never heard of a client that's even come close to even using 5 gigabytes of disk space. So it's not a huge requirement, but if you install MP Studio, make sure you've got access to SQL, okay? So you'll need that. Now, back to best practices, you put that first copy in the store database, you create some overrides, run a test, find out you need to add some more overrides, and you put a second copy in the database. That second copy gets compared to the first copy automatically, and that's how we audit the changes. So there's a comparison engine that runs in the background. It builds the audit history, and you can schedule that report and have it delivered to your manager. So you're doing all this hard work, and every day your manager's getting a copy of that report. Or maybe you work for a finance company, and they've got change management requirements that you basically risk your job if you deployed something without getting approval first. So now imagine the documentation you're starting to create in order to get that go-ahead. You've run a documentation of the configuration, you've run tests, and you've documented your resultant set of alerts showing that in a 1 hour test it had 1 alert. And as you checked in all those new copies, you've created this audit history report. So you've got 3 very clear, concise reports to provide to management and your change management committees to get the thumbs up to deploy management packs. And I'm going to show you the deployment piece as well. So this first challenge is understanding your management pack contents and configuration. Second challenge is the pre-deployment tuning and testing of a management pack. And the third challenge is change management. And because we have that stored database, we make it very easy. The same comparison engine that builds that audit history, you can run that in an ad hoc basis. That means you've got your override management pack sitting here in production, okay, and somebody's tweaking the override management pack on the file system, in other words, offline. So you can create that new override management pack or edit the new override management pack and then run a comparison between your production version and that file copy that you're preparing. So the ad hoc comparison can be used to compare any two management packs. Let's say Microsoft releases a new version. If they've added monitors, you might need overrides. But if you don't know they've added monitors and you deploy it, all of a sudden you risk having thousands of false alerts or unnecessary alerts. So run that comparison, find out what's been added, what's been deleted, and what's changed. I won't be showing that in today's demo, but I'm happy to do that in a one-on-one if you want to, look at that later. I will show another feature called the group compare, and the group compare will simultaneously compare all management packs in all management groups to the store master copy of all your management packs. So, I'll quote a specific client. They've got 900 management packs and a half a dozen different management groups. And they had to hire somebody for 6 months just to organize the versions across all those management groups because it got out of control. There were no, native ways to simplify that process. But if you have MP Studio, you put your master copy in the store database, that becomes your central deployment point. And that includes override management packs. So the group compare will allow you to synchronize versions. So if you've got a mismatch in versions, then MP Studio can help you run that group compare. It says, hey, you've got an old version out in production and you should update that. And you can run the deploy right from that group compare report. Okay, well, we are 20 minutes into the session. The good news is that gives us just enough time to go through all the cool things I have to show you here today. So I'm going to start by showing you a little bit of a navigation or describe what we're looking at here. First, let me bring back the getting started view. So on the left side, I've got two management groups connected. You can connect as many management groups as you want. Okay. Above that, well, first let me expand. There's one management group. So those management packs under the management group, these are production or installed MPs or live MPs. They're in production, okay? But up above, we have the store database. Any management packs in the store are considered file-based or offline. And as you'll see, we're going to create overrides afterwards offline. So special folder types in the store database. The first one I'll tell you about is the backup folder. So I have two management groups connected in MP Studio, and I've scheduled, automatic backups. There's my scheduling option here. And so every night it checks each of the two management groups, compares it to the store and says, hey, we've got a new version of an override management pack for Active Directory, for example, and it'll add it to the store database. So right now my override for Active Directory, I've got 4 different versions in there, and I could right click and say, let's schedule the audit history report. Why don't we just look at that scheduling window? So I can have this published to a folder once a day or once a week or whatever I like. I can also set up email subscription. If I've got the SMTP settings, then I can start building my address book of recipients. And then I would just be able to pick them from the list and have this audit history report. I'm going to show you the report afterwards, but I just wanted to show you, you could manually call for it there, you could schedule it, you could have it done right at the root of the store or just on the backup folder. At the very least, I would recommend running this, scheduling this audit history report at this level in your backup folder. And then you've got that every day. You've got, a report showing you what's changed with your override MPs. So that's the first folder, the backup folder. The second one I'll tell you about is sealed MPs. So for example, Silac, we've got a sealed MP in here. So we authored this MP and we sealed it. When you add it to the store, it creates a vendor folder and puts the MPs in there. So Microsoft Corporation, I've got a lot of management packs in here, and the requirement is eventually, if you buy MP Studio, you want all of your MPs to be in the store database, and that's important. So just like SCOM, you can't install an override MP unless the monitoring MP is there. And you can't put the monitoring MP unless the discovery, and you can't put the discovery unless the library is there. So MP Studio works the same way. You need to have all your management packs in the store database. And you can do that easily. Right-click on the root of the store and point to the folder where the MPs are. Again, that's something I can help you with if you have questions about how to do that. It's not that complicated. So here is my Windows Server 2008. That's not the one I wanted to show you. Let's go for 2012. Okay, so I've got 3 versions of that MP in the store database. I can even see here a summary. There are 9 changes between the last 2 versions in my store database. And between the previous 2 versions, there were 63 additions and 114 changes. So you could look at the audit history of that if you wish. Okay, we're going to work with one of those MPs later. The last folder type I'll tell you about is a project folder. I've got my sandbox folder here. I'm authoring an MP. I'll just double click on that to open it. And if I make changes to this MP, and this is all you're going to see here today with respect to authoring, I could right click here and use all these advanced authoring capabilities. There are many. Okay, I am just going to prove a point here. I'm going to just right click. Let me bring out the not the action panel but the properties panel. Anything in bold here I can change. So I'm going to edit the alert on state here to warning. That now adds an asterisk up above here, so I know it hasn't been saved yet. If I just hit that save button, save MP, it'll commit it to the database. And it's going to add a version .8 in there. So authoring, this is going to put the MP right into the store database. And what we're looking at now is the preview. This is the comparison of the edited MP to the previous .7 that was in there, and in here we can see the one change that we made. Hit save, and now there's the .7. Okay, so that's it for what I'll show you on authoring, but let's move on to the other override stuff. So that's my project folder. That's the 3rd folder type. Later we will work in the cleaning up the mess. This is also a project folder, and you can customize the names. So I'm going to come back and tell you more about that folder in a minute. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to look at an MP that's installed in my production environment. And here it is. I'm just, I've got several of these windows already open to save time because I'm connected on a VPN, and the operations tend to take a little bit longer over my VPN. And what we're looking at now, you can see in the middle of the MP contents panel, and there's the referencing overrides element has been highlighted, and we can see the 127 overrides and how they're configured. Okay, so one of the things I think you'll appreciate about MP Studio is that you can customize these tables. So anytime you see a table like this, you can, really manipulate the data, drag and column headings up. You can, group by multiple fields. Okay, let's do this. I can hide a column name. I might group by, let's do this, group by context. Let's also group by parent. And you can see how it starts to make things a little bit easier to figure out what you've got. Okay, so here's my auto resolve setting for that particular item. Now, if I want to document just these overrides, I can hit the export to Excel, and it's going to have the same custom grouping by context, parent, parameter, or property. So let's go ahead and group by context and parent, hit the export to Excel. There's my spreadsheet, and sure enough, group by context and parent. Okay, so the ad hoc method of creating a report just documents that current table or the current view. So that's interesting. There's my overrides, and these are, seeing the overrides from the sealed management pack, okay? So they are referencing overrides. I want to know where these overrides are stored. So I'm going to now scroll all the way to the end, and let me show you what we discover here. There's a column named referencing MP name. Now, if I just drag that column heading up, we'll discover where all the overrides are stored. And I'm just, as I start this, I realize that, I sort of flip-flopped the schedule here. We're going to look at misplaced overrides first, seeing as how I've already started this process. So I'm going to walk through how to discover where your overrides are stored, and then I'll show you how to use the move feature to clean them up. And that's what we're looking at right now. So I've got this Windows Server 2012 MP in my production environment, and I know it's screwed up because I did it. I accidentally put overrides in the default management pack, and if it's not obvious yet, you can see there's my default management pack at the top. I've got 26 overrides stored in that MP that are supposed to be in my my dedicated override management pack. Okay, so here's the second management pack. I've got 49 overrides in here. Notice the title, I called that good OR. In other words, good override for Windows Server 2012 monitoring. I've got overrides stored in a third MP, and if you notice the title, that MP is my Active Directory MP. So I've really blindly screwed this up and put 6 overrides in there. And no wonder things are hard to manage if you've got overrides all over the place. I have 23 overrides stored in yet another override MP. This is my 2012 R2. So I've accidentally put overrides in that MP as well. Okay, so this is how you discover the problem. If you're suspicious, run the, just double click on any MP installed in your management group, or you can right click and choose view, and you'll get this MP contents view. Pick referencing overrides, group by referencing MP name, and here you have it. Now, let me draw your attention to the left-hand side. I'll just grab my pen here to make it easier. I have saved a copy of those same MPs into the file system, because my recommendation is to edit them offline, not in production. So that way, there aren't any sort of accidental moves of an override to, another MP. Do it offline first in the folder on the left-hand side in the store database. So I'm going to switch over there now. Okay, and let's do this. I've got a bunch of overrides stored in my default management pack that don't belong there. In fact, I've got 26 of them. Now, it might be a little tricky to nail them down. What if there are more than 26 in there? Well, let's see. So a couple of things I want to draw your attention to. Look at the version number in the store. We have a version .9, the last digit there in the version number. Likewise in the good OR, because I'm going to move overrides from the default management pack down here into the good OR. So we're moving overrides like this. all right? And what it's going to do is it's going to change the version number of both of those MPs. Make sense? Let's do it. Erase my messy sketches, and let's see now, we want to just double click on that default management pack, so we open it, and again, this is in the stored database, this is a file-based management pack, and now I just need to pick my, we're in a default management pack, let's find my overrides. And it seems like I've already moved them out of there. That's not what I'm looking for. Okay, I'm going to move them out of the Active Directory MP instead. So let's switch to the Active Directory MP, and that's a version 100.3. Here's what I was looking for, the overrides element. And so the Active Directory MP has 18 overrides in it. Let's just briefly switch back to my Silac corporate, and here's the Active Directory. Now, up above, one more up. Okay, so I've already done a little bit of override manipulation, but what we're going to do is we're going to move some of these overrides. In this particular file-based copy, I've got 18 overrides, and I'm just going to, for now, pick one, choose move. Next, you'll be prompted for the destination. So the Active Directory Override Management Pack is my source. It's got overrides in there I don't want. And I'm just going to cancel out of here. I forgot to do one thing. I wanted to group by context first. And so this has, sort of narrowed it down to a more granular view. There's actually 6 overrides here, and you see the context is Windows Server 2012 operating system. So those are the ones I actually want to move. So I'm going to start with one of them. We'll hit Move Overrides. We're prompted for, hey, where do you want to move these to? We'll go back up into my Cleaning Up the Mess folder. Notice it's only showing me 3 of the MPs in there. It's not showing me the source because I don't want to save them in that. I actually want to put them into the good OR. And there's my version 19. So when we move that override, that should increment to a 20, and the Active Directory Override MP should also be incremented. So first thing we'll see is a pop-up dialog box showing the preview of the audit history. This is my good OR, and you can see the title at the top. It's being incremented to a version 20. There's a preview of the edits. There's one addition, and there's that one override that we're moving. Okay. So I can add a comment here. Was in AD override MP. We'll save that. Now we're looking at the preview of the audit history for the source MP, and it's incrementing to a revision 4. Obviously, we're moving one out. That's a deletion, which ultimately is 4 changes as well. Okay, and we can see at the bottom, here's what was deleted. That's the override that was deleted from that Active Directory MP. Hit save. Okay, so notice now, here's my Active Directory Override MP. There are only 5 overrides for that Windows Server 2012 operating system. The Destination Management Pack, we now have a version 20 in that folder. Let's do one more change. We're going to do this in bulk because we can. I just want to show you how easy it is. I'm going to go through this more quickly. Hit Move, find my destination. There it is. It's a version 20. Hit OK. We're going to modify the version of the Destination Management Pack. 5 additions. We moved a whole bunch of things. Add some comments in here. Hit Save. Now we're going to see the preview of the source MP, and we should have a matching equal number of deletions. I guess there's some other pieces in there that get cleaned up at the same time. Hit Save. And now they're gone. We're down to just 12 overrides in my Active Directory override MP. So that's pretty cool. We've done the cleanup. There's another step I'm going to show you to wrap that up because we've cleaned up that MP, but before we do the deployment, I want to show you a second way to discover this problem of misplaced overrides. If you have no idea where to begin, how do you find all these overrides that are misplaced? Okay, so let me just clean this up a little. I'm going to close a couple of these windows. We'll keep that one open. So I've already set some of this up, but I'm going to show you how I got here. On the management group, you can right-click, and there's option here to view selected management packs. Okay, now you could run this report for all management packs in your entire management group. I don't recommend doing that. But it's an option. You know, grab a coffee and come back in half an hour, and it'll, you know, it's a lot of data because we're going to open up every management pack and organize all the rules together, all the monitors, all the discoveries. It gives you a 10,000-foot view of your entire management group and organizes the data into specific folders for that element. So what I would recommend, just come in and grab all your monitoring MPs. Or if you're suspicious of a certain MP, you know, or a group of MPs, just pick those. What I did was I ran this report for half dozen or so monitoring MPs. Let's see what that report looks like. Here it is, Silac Corporate, all selected MPs. And there's the view, and you can see the MP contents panel has a lot of stuff in there. Now, because I'm running this over the VPN, it might take a minute to bring up all the information I want to see here. And let's do this. Let's pick referencing overrides. First, we'll try that. So this is going to show me I've got 396 overrides in my entire management group. Now, we've got a small shop here, so we don't really have a lot of overrides. You're going to have a lot more. Now, here's the key. When you pick referencing overrides, once again, scroll. I could document that, export to Excel. That's cool, and I do recommend you do that. If you hired me tomorrow to come in and work in your environment, this is the first thing I'd do. I'd run this 10,000-foot view. I'd probably do it for the entire management group because I don't want to miss anything. But in my case, I ran it for a subset of MPs just to make it work quicker. And of that subset, it found 396 overrides. And I would recommend going all the way to the very end, and you'll see two columns here, referencing MP name and MP name. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to drag, let's do this. I actually want to drag MP name up first, and then referencing MP name. Okay, so in this single view, you can very quickly tell here is we already looked at this MP, so if I expand that, here's the same thing we saw previously. It shows me I've got overrides stored in 5 different locations. Default management pack, good OR, here's my Active Directory override MP, here's my second override MP for R2, and then there's the 2012 R2 MP. So let's clean that up, and you can see also very easily I've got other MPs with the same mess happening here. So Active Directory, this is showing me I've got 3 management packs with overrides in it. The default management pack, I've got some in my good OR for Windows Server 2012, and I've got some where they belong. There's only 11 where they actually belong. So hopefully this is making sense. This is just how to get that information about where your overrides are, how many have I got, and where are they. And I know right away I've got, let's see, I'm gonna mark these with my green pen. This is bad. Everything that says 1, that tells me I've got overrides just in 1 location. So I've got 2 MPs here that are messed up. and I need to clean those up. And that's real value. That alone pays for the tool in less than 20 minutes, because you're going to know where the work is that you need to do. And a lot of people don't even do this cleanup because it's too hard to find the problem. Okay, so feel free to post any questions you have on that. I'm going to leave that topic for now because we have lots of other things I want to get to in this session. And I'm looking at my watch. We've got 20 minutes. And now that I've covered that particular topic, I've shown you how to clean that up. You put all the management pack versions into your project folder. Very easy. Just right click on the project folder after you create it and say add management pack, and then you go out to the management group and find the MP you want to add to that folder. That's how I did it. So it's really easy to do. We've already done the cleanup, and now I'm going to show you 2 ways to deploy the management pack. Here's my good override MP, and I can just right click on it, hit deploy, and pick the management group I want to go to. So that's the easiest way to do it, or it might be the fastest way, but there's another way I want to show you right now, and that's the group comparison. And we'll probably take a look at this twice. I'm going to right click on the store database, compare all management groups report. You could schedule this. Let's go right to the report. If it appears to take a little time to run that report, we might, okay, that was quick. Even over the VPN. Now I'm going to describe this a little bit before I customize it. This time I'll use the highlighter. So here's my corporate management group column. There's another column to the left of it. This is my lab management group, and again to the left of it is the store database version of all the management packs. Okay, so that's what you're looking at there. Let me also point out a couple of other things. The very last column, that's the path. That's where all of these management packs are stored. And you can just drag a column heading up. There's the different paths. There's my sandbox folder where I've been working. And so, for example, let's go to the cleanup folder, cleaning up the mess. Here's the good override MP. We tweaked that. Okay, and so I've also got, here's my override for Windows Server. Those are the other override MPs. Okay, and so, for example, you could hit the deploy button right from here, and that would deploy that override management pack out to the group. In fact, notice it's going to actually push it out to both management groups because all these libraries are referenced MPs, and they need to go out as well. Okay, if you don't want to update the references, you would use the other deploy method. If you use the deploy method from the group compare report, it will actually update all the references if they've changed as well. Okay, so I'm not going to deploy that right now. Let me reset this report, and I'll show you the typical way I use this report. I like to group by sealed. And secondly, I like to group by result. So, for example, with my unsealed MPs, I can go right to a folder here that says, okay, I've got 24 MPs that don't yet exist in the management group. And keeping in mind the path folder on the right-hand side, I could pick any one of these and deploy it right from here. I talked about authoring an MP earlier. There's my test 6 MP. I've got a version 008 in the store database. It doesn't exist in either management group. Hit that deploy button. It's picking up all the references, and it's also going to deploy it to both groups. If you don't want to deploy to both groups, unregister the management group, just right click and remove that management group, rerun the report, and then you can send them out to just a single management group. Okay, so I don't want to beat a dead horse on this report, but you can see hopefully, here's one where you've got a newer one available. So the default management pack, all right, if I had moved all the overrides out of that MP, and that's what I actually did that earlier, that's why we didn't see any overrides in there. I played around with it last night. So now I might want to deploy that new default management pack now that I've taken those overrides out that I didn't want in there, because I can see I've got a version .9 in the store database and just a .0 in my lab and a .7 in my corporate domain. So full cycle, found the problem, moved overrides from one MP to the other, and either an ad hoc deploy or use the group compare to deploy. So I've got about 10, 15 minutes max, and I'd like to show you a couple of more features. I want to go through creating new overrides and how you would do that offline, working with a file-based MP, and then we'll take a look at the test feature. Okay, and I also want to show you the workflow report. So there's a couple of things there still to look at. I'm going to leave the workflow report to the very end. I am now going to go into my sealed MP folder. Let's go to the Microsoft Corporation. Let's scroll down here and find my Windows Server 2012 monitoring MP. Not the R2. Here it is here. I've got 3 versions in there. I'm going to open the latest copy I have, and here it is. We can see the contents down the middle, and there's my monitors, my rules. I'm just going to go into rules first. Let's just pick, randomly at the top, right-click on the first rule, and choose Manage Overrides. This will show me what properties are available. One override has already been created, and it has an override stored, and here's the destination. You can see that's in the store database, Randy's Sandbox, and there's where that one override is already stored. So I can leave that. I'm going to leave that where it is, and let's just, we're going to choose to create these others, and I'm going to modify the enabled status from true to false. So that should really be 2 additions and 1 change. If I hit the apply button, it's automatically going to change that destination override management pack. And every time we make a change, we see that preview. This is just a warning where we're storing the override so we don't create a mess. So we should see the preview of the audit history. It's incrementing the version of my Windows Server 2012 monitoring override MP. We can see there are 2 additions and 2 changes, and there they are down below. There was a change from true to false, okay, and I can add some comments in here. Maybe I want to put in a work order number. It may look like there's not a lot of room there, but you can put, quite a bit. Hit save, and that's how quickly you can create and modify overrides. So I'm going to hit the OK button here and close that. Now let's look at the bulk override management capabilities. Maybe I know there's a problem with my logical disk and I don't want to generate any alerts here. So I'm going to take all of these. I'm going to now choose Manage Override. So we've got 17 rules selected. When I choose Manage Overrides, it's only going to show me the common properties. So guess what? The enabled status is the only one common in all of those. And I'm going to choose click on that override, and I'm going to set this to false. Unless they all are already false, it should mean we're going to make a change to all of those. Hit apply, and we are changing most of them, it appears. Hit yes. We'll see the preview. So we're looking actually at a total of 20 changes. We're incrementing the version of that override MP. I don't know if you know this, but if you make a change in the Ops Manager console, it doesn't automatically change the version of the override MP. You have to do that yourself. You have to manually go in and choose to edit that. If you make a change in MP Studio, we're automatically incrementing the version of the management packs. And here's, the history. Hit save. So there's 2 different override operations we just did. We changed one individual element, and then we did a bulk with whatever I have selected there, 17 of them. Well, that's cool, but now let's do something for monitors. So I could take all 49 monitors. Let's do that. Let's select all 49. And let me see if I can come up. Let's see how many overrides we've got first. How many properties? How many properties are common amongst all 49 of these monitors? Okay, so here it is. We've got half a dozen properties that are common amongst all 49. Maybe I want to implement, a standard value for all of these. Maybe the auto resolve, if I'd already set it all to false, maybe I want to turn those back on, make sure they're set to true. So now if I hit apply, that could potentially be modifying 49 overrides or creating new if they didn't already exist. Let's hit apply. And so it seems like we're changing most of those 49. Hit yes. Here's the preview of our audit history. Now there's more than 49 changes because things like the version and version ID change for different things. Okay, hit save. And there's yet another demonstration of a bulk override management. I'm going to do one more for you quickly. We'll drag targets up and let's go into logical disk, and I'm just going to grab 10 of these, right click to discover the common properties, and I'll check each one of these and I'll just make some random edits. And let's see what this ends up in. And again, those are just random edits. There's the changes. Hit yes. We should see the preview. Here's all the information. Hit save. And that's done. So we're talking, less than 10 seconds to make all those changes. So we're down to 5 minutes. I want to show you a little bit about the test feature. That's the bulk override management feature. I forgot one thing on this I should show you as well. Those edits were all made working with the Sealed MP. Let's go into that project folder, my sandbox folder. Let's open the override MP itself. So there it is. There's 40 changes made in the last update. And I'm just going to double click on that MP to open it. Let's pick the overrides. There's 425. I can right click and choose to edit. So let's change that value from 100 to 200. Hit OK. So there's an edit. I can just grab a bunch of these and just randomly delete them. Okay, so you've got that option here as well. I can come into the properties view, edit. Anything bold here, I can edit there. Okay, so there's always lots of ways to do things. MP Studio is no different. In fact, if I right click, I can view the XML here, and let's see if there's something here. There's an enforced value. I'll change it from false to true. Hit OK. And I can do all that same slice and dice stuff. I can export those to Excel and just export that table. We've made lots of changes now, and I need to save these. I can see the asterisks in that tab up above that tells me there was an edit. Let's commit those changes. Here's the comparison. There's a total of 8 deletions, 4 changes. Here's some of the changes we made. Remember, we did the bulk delete. Hit save. And there you go. It's going to add that one more copy into the stored database, version 6.9. There it is. Let's have a look at the audit history. I haven't shown that to you yet. And before we export that to Excel, let's customize the grouping. I'll group by changed by. Now, if you have 5 admins working on an MP, now you can easily see who changed what and when, right? So I group by 2 values, and I could sort ascending, descending. Let's just go in and look at some of these changes. There's my previous and new value. Okay, all the data is in there. I can export that to Excel, but remember, I also have the option to schedule that entire audit history report and have it sent to my manager. There's your previous value. previous value and new values. Very clear, concise report. We're getting down to the last couple of minutes here. Just a reminder, you can schedule that audit history report at any level, whether it's in the sandbox folder, maybe it's at the root of the store, maybe it's at your backup folder. You can schedule all of those. Just see if we can squeeze in these last couple of demonstrations I wanted to show you. I'm briefly going to come back to the server in my corporate environment. That's where we had our overrides. We've looked at the export to Excel option. There's an option here at the root to create an HTML report. You can schedule the report I'm about to show you, and it's called the Excel Workbook. And let me show you what that looks like. Here is a previously generated report. This is the workbook report that can be scheduled. And notice across the bottom there's multiple tabs. Let's take a look at the rules. Let's take a look at the monitors. So you notice the blue shading? That's the overrides that have been created for the element directly above it. Okay, so the data is all in here. We've got not just the rules, but you can also see row number 5. That's the override that's been created for the rule in row number 4. Likewise for monitors. I've got rows 3 to 12 are overrides that have been created for the unit monitor directly above. If I want to see just the overrides, notice there's a referencing overrides tab. There's 127 overrides, and this is just seeing the overrides by themselves. And guess what? The last column shows you where those overrides are. And take a look at the names in here. So here's yet another way. If you run this report, you can find out, looking at that, if you've got overrides misplaced. We really are. I'm going to take back that 4 minutes. We were late getting started, so perhaps we'll just roll right through that. That's the full documentation for any management pack. It gives you a worksheet and a separate sheet in that workbook for each element in your management pack. Okay, 2 things I want to show you still, the test feature and the workflow report. Let's get the workflow out of the way. First thing you do is right-click and choose to report on all agents. Now this is a cool report as well. If you're upgrading to 2016 and you want to track that deployment, because this will show you, for example, there's your version number in the version column. Your health is in there, etc. as well. So from here you can call the workflow report. I've already run the report. Let me show that to you. This report shows you what's running on any given agent. And in my case, I ran that against Silman SCOM. Okay, so here you can see all the rules, monitors, and discoveries. Let's group by type. I can see 155 different discoveries. Oh, there's that blue again. Some of those discoveries have overrides. Here's my monitors. Let's group this by one more value, MP name. Now I can see I've got 23 management packs running at least one monitor on this server. And if I expand one of them, this just gives you that complete picture. The System Center 2007 MP has 57 monitors running on this agent, and there's the overrides in blue. We can see in the last column in view, the information column shows the overrides. There are 2 thresholds set to 75, and there's the enabled status set to false. This report can't be scheduled at the current time, but you can use that export to Excel and create that report and share it with all the stakeholders. Okay, one more feature to show, and then we're going to go to a QA session for anybody that wants to stick around for that. I want to show you the test feature, because remember, back in that workflow, you want to test the management pack before you deploy it. So we could even go to, here's my good override MP. Okay, and I'm going to show you the wizard, and then we're going to switch and look at a historical test. These are a bunch of historical tests that I ran previously. Okay, so we're going to come back to that, but first I want to show you the test wizard. You right-click on any MP, whether it's in the store database or in production, launches the test wizard. There's just a few simple dialogues. You want to identify what servers to test against. So remember, we changed that override MP, and that's why I want to test it before we go out and deploy this. Now I'm just going to run it against a local host. It's going to fail because the local host is running Windows Server 10, and so, but it does. I just need to show you the wizard itself. You need to be a local administrator on any of the servers you test against. So I've entered my credentials here. And so just like running Perfmon, Event Viewer, or Registry Editor, if you run any of those remotely, you need to have local administrator access. So MP Studio Test Feature has the same requirement. Remember that if you do an eval of this. So my test default is 5 minutes, but I can set that for 48 hours or more if I want. But practically speaking, I'd recommend 60 minutes. And you can also delay that test to start later in the day if you wish, and then set sample rates for collecting event log data and Perfmon data. Now, I'll start the wizard and tell you a little bit more as it goes, and then I'm going to cancel out of it so I can show you the historical report. That's it to setting up this wizard. Now, you can see it's doing some stuff there. It's actually recreating the health model. It connects to the server in question and says, hey, do I have permissions and does it make sense? And that's why this one's erroring. It's saying, you know, the targets don't match, okay? But as we run the test, we're confirming that you've got permissions to connect to the Perfmon logs, to the event logs, and to the registry, Perfmon counters. So it confirms you have permission. Once it's established that, it will map a drive out there temporarily because most management packs have to test a script. They have to run a script out there. So we'll do that, collect the data in real time, and bring that data back to the MP Studio installation and compare all the Perfmon data, all the event data, and the registry information, compare that to configuration of your management pack. So this historical test, it generated just a single alert. Let me show you the data that was collected in the background. You can see a few tabs across the top, events, there's my discovery report. Let's come back to the counter summary. When a test is completed, we'll calculate the minimum values, maximum values, standard deviation, all that stuff gets calculated. While the test is running, you can actually click on any one of those performance counters and see this screen update just like you would in Perfmon. Horizontal lines, just put your mouse over. There's your max, there's your min. Green is the average value. And I see we're having a little audio trouble, so I apologize if I dropped off there a bit. The vertical lines, solid vertical lines, are events. So we see 3 solid vertical lines. Well, there's your 3 events here. Coming back to the chart, the dotted vertical line, that's the important one. That's the alert. Only one alert occurred during this test. Let's go to the resultant set of alerts. This is the report I told you about. In production, you'll also see the knowledge base article down below in the alert details. Okay, and now if this test had generated 1,000 alerts in that 1 hour base period, drag the name column up and you'll be able to tell which monitor shows up here with, instead of the number 1 item, it shows 500. That's the one you need to tune the overrides for. And that's how MP Studio can help you detect the noisy rules and monitors before you deploy a management pack out into production. Okay, so I am going to come back to our main view here. We actually managed to get through the entire presentation. I apologize for going over. I'm now going to stop the recording. We still have over a dozen people connected, so I'm going to stop the recording and I will go through the